Imagine this. It's November 22nd, 1718. Ocracoke Inlet, North Carolina. You're the most feared pirate in the Atlantic, and you've just blown half of 2 Royal Navy crews off their decks before breakfast. Their ships went quiet. Their men vanished below. So you board, cutlass in hand, pistols on your belt, fuses burning in your beard. The deck is quiet. Too quiet. Then Maynard's men pour up from below. All of them, at once. You raise your saber and grin. Hey there! Today we're talking about Blackbeard, the most feared pirate who ever lived. We're going to cover who he was, how he built a legend on pure terror, and exactly what happened to his body on the morning of November 22nd. Because here's the thing about Blackbeard. He didn't go down easy. He didn't go down the way any human being should after taking 5 bullets and 20 sword wounds. So who exactly were you? Who was Blackbeard? Your real name was Edward Teach, born somewhere around 1680, most likely in Bristol, England. Historians aren't entirely sure, and frankly, that feels appropriate. Even your origins are disputed. Like you arrived fully formed out of nowhere, specifically to terrify people. You started out legitimately enough, sailed as a privateer during the War of Spanish Succession, which is just a fancy way of saying the British government paid you to attack enemy ships and keep whatever you found. Legal piracy, essentially. Government-sponsored theft with a flag. Then the war ended in 1713. The privateering contracts dried up, and you, along with hundreds of other sailors who'd spent years doing nothing but raiding ships, suddenly had a very specific set of skills and absolutely no legal way to use them. So you went freelance. You apprenticed under a pirate captain named Benjamin Hornigold out of Nassau in the Bahamas. Nassau at the time was essentially a pirate republic. No functioning government, no navy presence, just several thousand pirates using it as a base of operations. You fit right in. By 1717, you had your own ship, a French slave vessel you captured and renamed Queen Anne's Revenge. You fitted her with 40 cannons. 40. Most naval warships of the era carried fewer. You weren't building a pirate ship, you were building a floating fortress. Here's what made you different from every other pirate operating in the Atlantic at the time. It wasn't your kill count. It wasn't even your success rate, though both were extraordinary. It was your understanding of something most pirates never figured out. Fear is more efficient than violence. If your enemy is already terrified before the fight starts, half the time there is no fight. Ships surrender, crews stand down, cargo gets handed over without a single shot fired. Violence is expensive. Fear is free. So you engineered fear deliberately and systematically. The beard first. You grew it long, twisted it into braids, tied the braids with black ribbons. In an era when most sailors were clean-shaven or kept short beards, yours was theatrical, enormous, almost cartoonish. People noticed it before they noticed anything else about you. Then the fuses. Slow-burning cannon fuses tucked into your beard and under your hat, lit before every engagement. They curled smoke around your face continuously. In the chaos of a naval battle, through the gunpowder smoke and the noise, you looked like something that was literally on fire. Like something that couldn't be killed because it was already burning. You carried 6 pistols on a bandolier across your chest. Not because you needed 6 pistols, because 6 pistols send a message. It worked. Merchant captains who recognized your flag didn't wait to see what happened next. They just stopped. One account from 1717 describes an entire convoy of ships surrendering to you without a single exchange of fire, simply because someone identified your vessel. At your peak, you commanded 4 ships and a crew of around 300 men. That's not a pirate operation. That's a navy. But here's the thing about building a legend that large. It attracts attention. Serious attention. The kind that ends with a Royal Navy lieutenant named Robert Maynard receiving orders to find and end you. By November 1718, you'd anchored at Ocracoke Inlet, a shallow stretch of water off the North Carolina coast that large warships couldn't navigate. You thought you were safe. Maynard brought smaller vessels specifically because of that. He found you on the morning of November 22nd. And you, being you, didn't run. Maynard came at you before sunrise with 2 small sloops, combined crew of around 60 men. No cannons, just sailors with muskets, pistols, and swords. You had 19 men and 8 cannons. You let them get close, then you opened up with everything. One broadside tore through the first sloop immediately. The second, Maynard's vessel, took heavy casualties, deck full of bodies, ships going quiet. So you boarded, because of course you did. What you didn't know was that Maynard had ordered his surviving men below deck deliberately. Take the casualties on deck as bait. The moment your crew was fully on board, they came up, all of them, through every hatch at once. Suddenly, the numbers were reversed. Your 19 against his remaining 40-something. The deck became a confined, chaotic, close-quarters nightmare. Pistols firing point blank. Cutlasses swinging in tight spaces. No room to maneuver, just violence at the closest possible range. Maynard came straight for you. You fired at him. Missed. He fired back. Hit you. You didn't stop. Multiple men were engaging you simultaneously. Pistols. Swords. You were taking hits and not going down, and the men around you were starting to understand that something was very wrong. By the time it was over, you had taken 5 bullet wounds, and somewhere between 20 and 25 sword lacerations. Every historical account agrees on one thing. You should have been dead long before you were. Maynard ended it the only way that seemed to work. He took your head. Your body was thrown overboard. Your head hung from the bowsprit of his ship as proof. Because in 1718, if you wanted people to believe Blackbeard was dead, you needed to show them something they couldn't argue with. So let's talk about what was actually happening inside your body during that fight. Because 5 bullets and 20 sword wounds before going down isn't heroism or black magic. It's biology. And the biology here is genuinely extraordinary. First, the bullets. In 1718, the standard flintlock pistol fired a lead ball roughly .50 caliber, heavier than a modern bullet, but traveling much slower, around 600 feet per second, compared to a modern pistol's 1,200. That sounds less dangerous. It isn't. A slower, heavier projectile transfers more energy into the body on impact, rather than passing through cleanly. It doesn't exit, it stays inside you, pushing tissue aside, fragmenting against bone, lodging wherever it stops. 5 of those entered your body during that fight, and you kept swinging your cutlass. Here's why. Adrenaline. The moment that fight started, your adrenal glands dumped a massive load of epinephrine directly into your bloodstream. Your perception of pain dropped dramatically. Not disappeared, dropped. Adrenaline doesn't make you invincible. It makes you temporarily capable of ignoring damage that would otherwise stop you cold. Then there's blood loss. 5 bullet wounds and 20 sword lacerations means you were bleeding from at least 25 separate points simultaneously. Your body was losing blood faster than it could compensate. Your heart was working harder to maintain pressure. Your brain was getting less oxygen with every passing second. The sword wounds compounded this differently than the bullets. Bladed wounds in close quarters combat in 1718 were typically slashing wounds rather than deep thrusts. They bleed extensively, but don't always hit critical structures immediately. 20 slashing wounds across your body means massive surface blood loss, shredded muscle, exposed tissue, agonizing under normal circumstances. Under a full adrenaline response, registering as heat and pressure rather than pain. The wound that should have ended it came from behind, a deep slash across your neck. Close enough to your carotid artery that blood loss from that single wound alone would have been catastrophic. Your blood pressure is dropping fast, brain oxygen depleting, and still you kept fighting. Until finally your body ran out of runway. The adrenaline couldn't compensate anymore. The blood loss was too severe. Your heart, working overtime against dropping pressure, began to fail. Your vision narrowed to nothing. Your legs stopped responding. You went down. Then Maynard finished it the only way that seemed final enough. He took your head with a sword and hung it from the bowsprit of his ship. A trophy. Proof. Because in 1718, simply saying you'd killed Blackbeard wasn't going to be enough for anyone. Your body was thrown overboard into Ocracoke Inlet. According to folklore, it swam around the ship 3 times before sinking.